changes. One thing we know under this proposal is that 7 days out, the judge is going to look over the prosecutor's shoulder.
As I understand it, under the new rule, then for domestic violence victim, for example, you can say you're not going to disclose the identity of the person.
You would have to move for, the prosecutors would move for their certification. More likely in that situation with the number of domestic violences, and again, this is just kind of the thought, it would be more for counsel's eyes or agents, employees, representatives. The difference here is we're going to get 80% of everything, or probably, who knows, give or take some, long before. In those small percentages of cases, you would get it certainly before. 16B1G would no longer.
And let me add one thing for those of you who are concerned. The model rules now require a prosecutor to, as a professional obligation, to follow Brady. I think that prosecutors are going to be very cautious about using this certification process casually. Why? Because if we come up to that 7-day review and the judge says, Mr. Prosecutor, this is ridiculous, you've abused your discretion, we're opening ourselves up potentially to a disciplinary complaint. And even though I think that in most cases the Supreme Court is probably going to be unwilling to sanction somebody acting in good faith, I don't like answering Supreme Court complaints. Only had one. There you go. All right. But I'm not eager to have another. And I think most prosecutors are going to be cautious about this, recognizing that we have to, the standard of review does require us to be able to establish reasonable, articulable grounds for our concern about intimidation, safety, coercion.
Dave had talked about a second ago, he had mentioned the floor. And one of the questions that's been pretty common is, well, what about those of us in counties or those who practice in counties that have had complete open discovery? Lake County, Montgomery County, even Summit County with its inspection, Cuyahoga now. And this rule is intended to serve as the floor. There are certainly many of you have been to or live in counties where there is complete closed discovery. I was with the prosecutor recently 2 weeks ago who made it very clear he never ever intended to give open discovery, didn't believe in it. This raises the floor. It does not require, the folks in Montgomery or Cuyahoga County are not going to have to scrap the computer system or go back to this. If they want to stay where they are, they can. This merely raises the bar for those that did not want to give everything over. This is kind of well, like I said, the floor. It's the threshold here. So this is what has to be honored. You want to go beyond that, that's great. I saw one other hand back there somewhere. Yes?
If everything goes as planned, when would you anticipate this being?
Sure. In my discussions with folks on the Rules Committee recently, the cycle will have us going July of 2010. This will be implemented.
Assume there's no right to interlocutory appeal on our part. Should a judge choose not to disclose it?
If the judge chooses not to disclose it, you still have seen it again. Okay, you've seen it beforehand. And then your record is made, everything's held in seal and everything else. You still have your record for appeal at that point. Okay.
And the reason for the disparate distinction is the prosecutor's focus has always been on protecting those witnesses in that small group of cases where witnesses could be in jeopardy. We have the responsibility to the community and to the larger cause of justice according to the rules of professional or the model code now. Your duty is to your client, understandably and properly so, but that's a reason and a basis for the distinction.
We will be circulating that rule. I can't say exactly when, sooner than later, I would think. As soon as we get it done, we get a copy to Chief Justice Moyer and to the legislative liaison. It will be circulated, and if there's any questions, of course, feel free to give a buzz. One other question.
Are the counsel only and inspection only, those are the determinations that a judge makes after the certification is filed by the prosecution?
Sure, a good question. The question was the counsel only determination, is that made only after the judge has made the determination on the certification. And the counsel only comes in two ways. If the judge determines that, hey, you know what, this is not something that should be certified, give it over to him, it automatically knocks down a level to our eyes only. Okay? And it's really the same way a lot of us who got the Leeds report for years. You see the big red stamp said law enforcement only. That's all it's going to have on there is a big red stamp. Or Dave or any of his colleagues would say, you know, this may not rise to the level of certification, but I'm a little concerned here. Just stamp it, and it goes to us. Obviously, we're not disseminating it out on the street, but we can use it for any other purpose.
The inspection-only category is very limited to sexual cases, the sexual assault cases, and that's defined in the rule.
Right, and to end on that note, obviously we all contemplated the need for experts in the sex cases and so on. That information can still go over to our experts subject to a protective order, which we would have in place. So this rule is really designed, and we're confident that this will allow us to all move forward in line with the Constitution and all of the protections that both sides have been looking forward to. So again, we were very proud of this rule. I thank the OPA and I thank all the defense lawyers that contributed to this, and I'm very excited for its implementation. Thank you for having us here today.